Right, I don't really know where I'm going with this one. Try and do it quick, but we're going to have a look at Gobeklitepe because this is the paradigm that we've been given, this ridiculous, impossible, idiotic cartoon reality that you've been given. Okay, but we're going to have a look at that anyway and go beyond. Well, I'll just show you some images and then you can make up your own mind. Now, what I'm showing doesn't really match up with the type of imagery that's on these things, so you've got what I'm showing you, like I say, it doesn't match up with it. So one of the ideas out there actually in mainstream archaeology is that this was some type of children's play area, and that could actually be true. It could have been designed in that fashion, just like Escape around here. You've got an entire section and walls covered with images such as this. This site, you know, there's areas like that that we build today, or has it been taken over in the past by, you know, primitive humans, or, you know, primitive, you know, other beings that were here before us, yeah, placed here before us. And either way, what I'm going to I mean, look, that even this image I've just noticed, that has actually fallen away, and it's revealing this picture underneath it, right? That V there, that shape, actually goes beyond that line, and it runs all the way around there in a double, because it's like two lines, yes. So as this fell away, it's revealing something else underneath. So this has been concreted over with concrete, lime, or some other substance that we don't know about, or it eventually turns into this, yes, which is what I think most of it is. Anyway, such as this image, I mean, it is just like I was going on about the stuff in Egypt. The artwork is ridiculous. But I mean, this looks like ash, doesn't it? You know, it looks like it's being hit by some pyroclastic flow. But even this, if you look at this tail here, I noticed this, it looks like that this might not have actually have been carved from the rock. It looks like it's been pinned on this. It could have been separate, and it was some type of metal, you know, or whatever, and it's been pinned on. And they pinned the tail on to stop it from breaking off. Can you see that? Might have been anchored in there with a bolt or something, and it's just turned to this. I'm only going to point out things that no one's pointed out to you before, but yeah, this is one of those artifacts that they've got in the museum there, and straight away I noticed these fingers. When you look at this, right, how eroded this is, naturally, like it should be, you wouldn't have these finger lines like that, would you? As new as that. So if that's fake, then how much more is fake again? Okay, but you have got squares, like I say, where bars, metal bars, will have gone into this concrete substance, yes, and rusted away. I'll show you some more of this. This is apparently an artifact that's in a museum in a different country, and this is a bit more, you know, adult. Looks like it's been done by an adult, but in the same type of children's school fashion. But up here it actually looks like, I don't know if this is just the colour, but it looks like metal, you know, like I go on about metal turning into stone, but I can tell you when you inspect these images it actually looks like this is a frame, right there. This band actually goes all the way around, and you get little holes maybe where screws were and bolts, yeah. And then it's turned into this material. I just want you to check these images out, what I'm showing you. What is this? Right, I know it's not this. They're saying this will be the ancient aliens crowd or whatever, granting the one for granting, yeah, spaceships delivering That's what they think this says. But was this some type of technology? You know, some type of anchoring system, yeah? And it's just, you know, it was in there, but as the metal started to erode away, it pulled through and then petrified down here. I don't know, I'm just showing you because it's not that. You know, I go on about rebar, right? Now, if this was just pure stone, right, as this thing cracked, that would have fallen away. I absolutely guarantee you. So this must be some type, well it is, I'll show you why, I've shown you, but it even looks like that there's still some of it still inside. Yeah, yes, it will be, you know, it will be soft now, you know, ready for, well, turning to dust almost. But look, that thing has cracked and yet it's still holding itself together. That's impossible if it was just stone. This is what I mean by rebar, yeah. Whether or not these things have been turned into little animals, whatever they were, but this thing here, look, you can even see that this was metal at one time and it's bent, yeah. But this is where rebar was. You get these shapes on top of every single one of those pillars. I'll show you what those pillars were. Alright, no one's ever shown you this before, but it's pretty obvious to me as I inspected it properly. But you get this colour as well. And what is this? I mean, is this iron? Yeah, is this iron that's rusted away? Yeah, and it's all oxidized out, and it's turning all this corroded, eroded, soft concrete, because that's what it is, red. I found this interesting. Now, this is obviously the biblical Tower of Babel. Yeah, you know, this is just a picture. It's nothing like this, but I find this interesting. Right, look at the shape of this, and now it's anchored in with these, yes. Remember that image, but I can tell you that all this, because mainstream archaeology, you know, trying to get you to believe that they lived in this 12,000 years ago, and when they were finished with it, they all came with baskets and buried this thing. They literally buried it, right? That took, you know, tens and tens of wagons, yeah, years to just excavate a small section of this. I ain't going to get into that. I don't need to, surely, not to people that come to this channel. All this is eroded concrete, right? And all these little, you know, little blocks, right, are all the same size because it was rebar, because it has to be to build a roof, which is what I'm going to show you, right? What do you think you're looking at here? I can guarantee you they've not just excavated it in this shape to be fancy, yeah, or have their own little plots. You know, you've got various archaeologists, yeah, from different countries or whatever, and they excavate their own little zone. No, no, you know, other images will show you that this is what the site looks like, yeah. So they're excavating it in this fashion. What this was a structure, right? This was not, you know, well, look, you know, like the video that I showed you in China, yeah, the so-called Emperor's Tomb, where the soldiers are, and I showed you that it was a structure that had collapsed down on it. Yeah, that is exactly what you're looking at. I want you to look carefully at this image, right? And what I mean by that is, there were this roof and all these, because there's loads of them, these were actually huge pillars. These things were obviously a different type of concrete, right? It must have been concrete because it had rebar in it, didn't it? But all this stuff that's eroded away into these blocks had smaller rebar, yeah, but it must have been softer because it's just corroded into nothing, hasn't it? Yeah. But this roof was standing on these pillars, and what I mean by that is, oh yeah, as look, as these archaeologists excavate this site, yeah, I can guarantee you it all just comes out looking like this. This is what it comes out like, and as they excavate it, they are literally building this as they go, right? Just like every other site that they've excavated in the past and now. Just like Tiwanaku, right? If you look at old images, it looked nothing like it does now. You know, everywhere, every site, you know, that they've excavated fully, they have literally built it as they go along. That is exactly what they're doing here. They remove most of this stuff, which is a road of concrete, right, and then they build this. If you don't believe me, you can go check. But what I mean by this was some huge structure, and it was stood on these pillars, right, is exactly that. These squares were actually the second floor. God knows how many floors it had, right? But it had at least one, right? Look, right? And they were stood on these pillars. Have a look. There's no reason why the circular parts to this should run into these sections. These squares here were not rooms. These were just what was dividing the floors above. Okay. This shape here is actually part of the wall that's falling in eventually as all this corroded away. Because that's what this is. It's a road of concrete that were fully rebar, and it all falls away in about the same size blocks. Inspect these images carefully and look at what I'm saying. The last video, yeah, about Santorini, when I showed you, you know, from a top view, a chain of mountains, and they look like this, didn't they? This looks like nothing, does it? Right? This is Gobeklitepe, and in and around the area, right? So what has happened to this place? Because this is the same site. This is that site I've just shown you, right? And all inside this and along it are huge pieces like this, right? This was a structure, but this was some huge structure that's ended up looking like this. How old is this, and what happened to it? Right, I might as well show you these, because it's basically to do with the same stuff. Right, yeah, like I was going on about the Emperor's Tomb, yeah, I showed you how it was a structure, didn't I? Right, I don't want to get into it again, but it was a, well, I am getting into it again, but it's no different to this site. Now, yes, I have seen old images of this. I've lost them on my old laptop, and old images of this, I had 2 of them, and close up, this stuff just looked like it was built with mud brick, right, basically, but it wasn't. It was built with rebar, right, and it just eventually looks like bricks and turns into soft mud, soft concrete, yeah. This was a roof exactly the same as, you know, the lost Emperor's Tomb that was old in the soldiers, yeah. This is only the roof of this. It's an entire city that's buried underground, right? Look, the shape I've just shown you at Gobeklitepe is pretty obvious that this was a huge structure, you know, like a shopping mall, yeah, basically something on that size. Inspect these images. All this stuff just doesn't belong in here. Why does that go in there? It's because it's collapsed down on top of it, I can guarantee you. I know that's small. And I'm not saying that all these ancient sites were all structures like what I'm trying to point out, but they, you know, they deserve being looked at again, I can guarantee you, because none of this stuff makes any sense. Why are all these lines like this? Was this the roof that was, you know, stretched over it or something? Yeah. Telling you, everything needs looking at again. Even this, just excavated 2 years ago. This makes no sense, especially with this stuff underneath. Just because you get little, you know, like bricks like this just could have been one of the top floors. Everything could be underground, and this was the roof. You know, literally, this could have been a huge flat roof. Because these weren't rooms, were they? Obviously, these were not rooms. So what were they? Yeah. Like I say, not every site I'm pointing out. Yeah. I mean, ancient peoples could have come here, right, and then